Hey people, it's me again. So, anyways, it just feels weird that now we have to go over this again, and that is, you know, the Pope passing away as far as that goes. So, uh, I think for me, there's a lot to unpack here because, you know, I was like raised Catholic, but I was never really confirmed to the church for a myriad of reasons of that sort. And in a way, I think that the church has to evolve in some form of another in order to be relevant. Otherwise, there's just going to be more schisms in the future of that sort because, after all, you know, there's like more than just one Catholic Church. It's not just the Roman Catholic Church, but then there's like American Catholic, but also like Episcopalian in a way, because Episcopalian or Anglican is almost the same as like the Catholic Church, but there's just some other key differences and all. You know, not that I really want to go into it, but still, I think um, what was so bizarre about all of this was, it was like the other day, we were driving around in town and my mom was commenting about the Episcopalian church that was like in the area and how it's almost the same as Catholic Church. And then I think it was like the other day was where I think mom was talking about, one of the cardinals of that sort, you know. So I think that was just one of those little things again where I think it just depends on, like how the church is going to proceed from here on out as far as electing the next pope to succeed Pope Francis of that sort. And in a way, it was like for a lot of people in my generation, it was like all we knew as a pope was, Pope John Paul. And then, after that, that was like, that was it. When it was Pope Benedict XVI, I think that's what getting all mixed around. And then now Pope Francis, and now whoever is going to be the next pope, But I think that pope probably has big shoes to fill as far as that goes. But, I think it also depends on, who will represent the Pope the church as far as in the next couple of years to come as far as that goes. Depending on, whether or not, that Pope has uh, the right way of like trying to mediate the different factions within the Catholic Church, because there are certain factions that want the church to go back to its roots, that sort of thing, as far as Latin masses, and there are others that just want to go so far radical on the other side of the coin at that point, but then it's just some, balancing act when it comes to the church there, But it's just like when it came to the Anglican Communion in one instance, because it was about like, what was it, like it was almost like 20 years ago when that whole story, and I keep forgetting that one guy's name, but he was supposed to be like the first bishop in the Episcopalian Church to be gay and all, and it caused a lot of problems because, you know, as far as that goes, and that there were certain, other uh, bishops in the Anglican Communion that will not move or toe the line and all that. And it was almost like this sort of schism there of like, as far as that goes. But at that same point in time, there were all these other churches that were making more of a impact on things. As far as like United Church of Christ was like the other church that was more, open and affirming churches of that sort, and especially when there was like these ads of, where they were trying to, reject people because of like just because they're gay or just because they're all this and they had their own little slogan of things there because although they were like evangelical, but they're kind of like on the left of that sort. But I think it's not just that, but then of course there was like the Jesuits. The Jesuits or something like that, but if I recall correctly, it wasn't like Pope Francis was part of the Jesuits or used to be part of the Jesuits. If I remember correctly there, because the Jesuits are always a bit more liberal, to the point where, it caused a lot of problems, as far as that order of Catholic priests and all. But, and then in a way, the Jesuits were like responsible for certain people being the way they are, as far as Fidel Castro and all of that, and a lot of other things, So, anyways, I guess that's probably it. So, talk to you guys later.